You ever see one of those health headlines online and it just, well, it makes you stop and think, really? Like, there was one recently about raisins controlling blood sugar. Apparently, it left a doctor shocked.
Oh, definitely. Those kinds of claims can really grab your attention.
Yeah, and sometimes they seem almost, I don't know, disruptive to common sense.
Right. And that's actually a perfect lead-in to what we're digging into today. Our mission here is to take a really close look at another one of these popular ideas.
Okay.
Specifically, the claim that resveratrol, that compound found in grapes, red wine, can prevent or even treat Alzheimer's disease.
Ah, resveratrol. Yeah, I've definitely heard about that one.
Exactly. So we want to compare that popular belief with, well, the current scientific reality. And we're guided here by the work of Professor Lin, who's done a lot of research into the science behind these sorts of health hypes.
Professor Lin, right.
Yeah, he actually got into this specific topic when a friend asked him about raisins, resveratrol, and beta-amyloid protein, the protein linked to Alzheimer's.
Okay, let's unpack that then, because resveratrol, it's been talked about a lot, almost like a miracle antioxidant
That's a popular image, yes.
found in red wine grape skin. And the claims are huge, right? Anti-aging, anti-cancer, and the big one for today, anti-memory loss. It sounds, well, pretty amazing.
It does sound appealing, absolutely. But what's fascinating, and maybe the first red flag, is when you look at the research, the amount of resveratrol they use in studies to get those supposed effects.
Okay, how much are we talking about?
We're talking super high doses, usually around 1,000 milligrams per day.
1,000 milligrams daily. Wow,
But they
that
can't-
doesn't sound like just having a glass of wine with dinner.
Not even close.
So just to put that in perspective, if someone wanted to get that kind of dose, that experimental dose, just from red wine, what would that actually look like? This is where it gets really interesting, I bet.
It gets, well, frankly absurd. Professor Lin's analysis pointed this out quite starkly. To hit that 1,000 milligram dose from red wine, you'd need to drink about 200 bottles.
200
Bottles.
every day.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Or, if you prefer raisins, maybe about 200 kilograms of raisins, again, daily.
Right. So not exactly practical or healthy.
Definitely not practical.
Yeah.
It highlights the disconnect between the lab and, well, real life.
Okay, so the amount is just totally unrealistic. But setting that aside for a second, what does the actual science say? Professor Lin looked at a ton of research, right?
He did, a huge amount. His reviews covered something like 9 years of research initially, and then more recent updates. We're talking thousands of papers on PubMed, over 100 clinical trials reviewed.
And the conclusion?
Well, the conclusion is pretty clear now. While some of the very early studies, maybe in petri dishes or on animals, showed some potential.
The initial promise?
Right. But the more recent and more important human clinical trials, they're just inconsistent. Actually, 2 recent major review papers essentially said the same thing.
What did they say?
They basically concluded that while preclinical stuff looked interesting, challenges like poor bioavailability.
Meaning your body doesn't absorb it well.
Exactly. Very little actually gets absorbed and used by the body effectively. So because of that, and the limited clinical evidence, resveratrol's therapeutic effects on Alzheimer's are, and this is the key phrase, not yet substantiated.
Not yet substantiated. That sounds quite definitive.
It's a careful scientific way of saying the proof just isn't there in humans.
So after digging through all that evidence, what's Professor Lin's sort of final word for people listening, especially when you see supplements making big claims?
His conclusion is pretty blunt, honestly, and it's important. Despite what supplement companies might claim or market,
Yeah.
there's currently no health supplement that has been proven to prevent, delay, or treat dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Full stop.
Wow. Okay. That's a really crucial takeaway. No proven supplement.
It's a tough message, maybe, but it's grounded in the evidence. But, if we shift focus slightly, connecting this to the bigger picture, there are things showing real evidence-based promise against Alzheimer's.
Okay, like what?
Immunotherapy. This is something Professor Lin has also written about extensively, actually, nearly 100 articles.
Immunotherapy. How does that work?
It involves using specific antibodies, amyloid beta antibodies, drugs you might have heard of, like aducanumab. These are designed to target and clear out those beta amyloid plaques in the brain.
The plaques associated with Alzheimer's.
Exactly. And the key thing is, clinical studies have shown these therapies can actually clear the plaques and improve cognitive function in patients. There's real data there.
Right. And I remember hearing about these drugs They had a bit of a tough road getting approved, didn't they? Professor Lin tracked that too.
They did. It was quite the journey. Initial rejections, scientific debates, even some political controversy surrounding the FDA approval process. But yes, Professor Lin followed it closely.
But the outcome is positive now.
Yes. Two of these new drugs are now FDA approved. And actually, they were just introduced in Taiwan back in June of this year.
That's significant progress.
It is. But what's also incredibly telling is the cost and how patients are responding.
What kind of cost are we talking about?
An 18-month course of treatment runs somewhere between 1.5 to 2 million NTD. That's roughly, what, 50 to 65,000 US dollars? And that's excluding other fees, like examinations.
That's a huge amount of money. Out of pocket for many, I assume.
Yes, a significant expense. But
Yeah.
here's the thing Professor Lin noted. Patients are, in his words, impatiently waiting to get these treatments, despite the cost.
Impatiently waiting, even with that price tag.
Yeah, which leads to a really powerful point Professor Lin raises, sort of a rhetorical question for you, the listener.
Okay.
Why would patients be so eager, so impatient, to spend 2 million NTD on these complex new immunotherapies? If Alzheimer's could actually be treated effectively with a few resveratrol supplements, or, a handful of raisins.
That really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? The actions of patients seeking proven, albeit expensive, treatments versus the claims around simple supplements.
Exactly. It highlights the gap between the marketing hype and the clinical reality. So ultimately, this whole discussion really underscores how vital critical thinking is when you encounter any health claim.
Especially those that sound too good to be true.
Precisely. Always look for strong clinical evidence from human trials. Be really wary of quick fixes, miracle cures, or just slick marketing, particularly for serious conditions like Alzheimer's.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. How do we balance that natural human hope for a cure, or even just prevention, with the need for solid scientific evidence? How do you navigate all this complex health information to make the best choices for yourself or maybe for your loved ones? This deep dive is really an encouragement to keep asking those hard questions and to, well, keep digging for the real answers beyond the headlines.